Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel and spending some of your day with me. And guys, today we have got a good video for you all today. We're going to give you all a Wacky rig primer for spring fishing season. We're coming up on the best time of the year to fish Wackies. This is a deadly springtime technique. It's probably, I'm going to put it in the top 3 of the best ways to catch a bass, specifically in the month of April. So anytime that water temperature is between like 55 and 70 degrees, and there's a window that's even better that we're going to talk about here, this is a deadly technique. So what we're going to do, I'm going to talk about the baits I use, I'm going to talk about how to rig them, talk about how to work them, how to manipulate them, and the areas you throw them in. And I definitely think it's going to add up to some quality fish for you guys. Also guys, I will be putting all of the stuff we're talking about today, all the Wacky rig setups, the worms and the hooks, they will be linked specifically in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to stock up on some of that stuff, I recommend using that link's a good way to support the channel. And also guys, anybody interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, a private lesson, I do my lessons at Table Rock and Stockton Lake here in Missouri. I teach you about Wacky rigging or anything you want to learn. Shoot me a private message on my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blaukat, for details, and appreciate everybody's support of the channel. Okay, there are certain techniques in bass fishing that just stand the test of time, and those baits are usually the baits that don't telegraph themselves. Texas rig worms, jigs, shaky heads, Ned rigs, Wacky rigs. Other baits, they stay consistent, but they have a lot more smaller of a window of time during the year that they work. But certain things like a Wacky rig, it works in a wide range of conditions, in a wide range of situations. And it's going to be just as productive now as it did when it started out and 20 years from now, as long as we have bass in the lakes. But let's get into this about a little bit on the worms specifically, the type I like and the rigging I like, and then we'll get into everything else. Okay, there's 3 primary types of setups that I use for a Wacky rig. The first one is probably the most popular, is a soft plastic stick bait. This is a Zoom's Linky or a Cinco. How I like to do this, I do it different than most people. First of all, if you guys follow my channel, you know about roughing it up. And if you don't know about roughing it up, most of these soft plastics have a lot of salt in them, depending upon the brand. And if you take it and rub it with your fingers, it breaks that salt and brings it to the surface of the bait. And not only does it change the color of the bait, it makes it look more earthwormy and natural. It makes the bait more pliable and gives it more action. So that's one of the first things you want to do with it. Okay, the next thing is the hook is extremely important. And I've experimented with every Wacky hook that you can have, those circle hooks and all this type of stuff. And through my years of experimentation, this is the best hook. This is the Gamakatsu G Finesse worm hook here. Nano-coated hook in a number 1 or number 1/0. You want to use a small hook. This is critical, guys. Do not use anything over a 1 or a 1/0 hook. I'll use the 1/0 usually for like the thicker baits like this, and the number 1, which is smaller, for the thinner diameter worms. I'll also put this hook in the description of the video here, Gamakatsu G Finesse. Absolutely the most awesome hook for this. And believe me guys, I've learned the hard way. I've used about every hook that you could possibly use for Wacky rigging, and this one gives me more bite to land ratio than any of them out there. Okay, now another thing you see everybody talking about, they slip a collar around these Wacky rigs, like a rubber collar, and then they hook it like this through the rubber collar. You do not want to do that, guys. Trust me on this. Here's why. The rubber collar, it's a visual strike detractor. I mean, the hook is too, but anything that you can have that does not look unnatural, you want to take off. So if you've got even a clear or a black collar on there, it's a visual, because this is a good clear water bait, and these fish will nose down on this bait and they study it. And if there's a rubber band there, that's probably going to make the difference between the bass going for it or not. Another thing, when you hook it like this with the collar on there, the hook falls like that, and you lose more fish. But if you just hook it straight through the middle with no collar on it like that, this is the way that you want to hook it, because the bait will fall just like this. The position of the hook is at top, and when you set the hook, you get them in the upper roof of the mouth. And also, when you rig it like this on this hook, the worm sort of vibrates and undulates as it falls down. So this is the way that you want to hook it, definitely. And normally I use it on 8-pound test Seagar and VizX fluorocarbon line. If I'm fishing shallow or the water's a little bit more off colored, I'll go to 10-pound test, but 8-pound is sort of my go-to, but that's the setup. So this is the first bait I use, soft plastic stick bait, larger profile. This is going to be a better choice if you have a little bit of color in the water. So if you have water visibility that's say 2 to 3 feet, which is sort of like on the lower end of the color I like to fish, of the water clarity I like to use a Wacky in, I use the soft plastic stick bait because it's a larger profile, displaces a little bit more water, stands out a little bit to the fish, and with a variety of colors there. So, but this is the one that I use, 2 to 3 foot of visibility. And also this works a little bit better if you're throwing it around some type of cover, like next to trees or something. And earlier in the year, you'll find on a Wacky rig that early in the season, like when that water temperature, say 55 to 60, that they want a little bit bigger profile, bulkier worm. So I'll use this sort of like up until the fish start actually spawning. At that time, I go to a smaller profile worm, and there's 2 different ones I use. The one that I use when I think a lot of the fish are spawning, not necessarily, I'm not targeting bedding fish, but when those fish are up shallow, looking for beds, building beds, spawning garden fry, when they're up shallow, I go to a smaller diameter worm. This is a Zoom trick worm. And this is my favorite bait to use during like the middle of April. Smaller profile. The difference between the soft plastic stick bait and the trick worm is gonna fall a lot slower. It's not as heavy, it's not as dense. So the fall rate on a trick worm is gonna be about half of what it is on this bait. So the soft plastic stick bait is a good bait to work in a little bit deeper water, down to 5 or 10 feet. And the trick worm is good when those fish are really, really shallow. They like that one. So this is sort of my bait for April. Now, as the fish get close to getting done spawning, and they're sort of in the early post-spawn, maybe you still have bass garden fry, you got some fish cruising up shallow, that's when I go to a bubblegum color worm. Bubblegum trick worm. I'll get into colors here just in a second, but a bubblegum trick worm is deadly after those fish spawn. There's something about it, the bright color, they react to it. Also, if you have a spring day that is cloudy and rainy and sort of, that rainy April type of a deal, put you on a bubblegum. Guys, they love bubblegum colored worm if it's raining out. And this also, these 2 smaller diameter worms, the bubblegum and the trick worm, this is going to be my clear watercolors. So if that water visibility is clear, 4, 5, 6 feet, I'm always using these particular 2 ones here. Okay, now, one of the most important parts of this is how you work a Wacky rig, because there's a couple different ways to do it based upon what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to get the bait down deeper, say for example, maybe the water's 4 or 5 foot clarity and the water is not quite 60 and you feel those fish are down in that 5 to 10 feet of water, it's pretty simple. I'll just cast it out there, watch my line as the line's falling down there. And when the line, finally hits the bottom and I see it relax, I'm just gonna shake it like this a little bit, and then I'm gonna pop it like that. So shake it 3 or 4 times. You can see my rod tip, shake it like that, pop it like that. So what it's looking like is this worm, it's on the bottom and you're sort of shaking it like this and you pop it and it comes up and then it falls slowly down. Shaking a little bit like that, pop it, comes like down. And normally I'll work it maybe, I don't know, not very far. I'll work it maybe 5, 6, 7 feet. And if I don't get a bite, I'm gonna cast it out and make another cast. Because one of the things about a Wacky rig is, since it is a bait for a little bit cleaner water most of the time, a lot of the fish will follow it down and they usually hit it pretty quick. It's like one of the things that you'll find out about Wacky rig fishing is when that bait hits the bottom and you lift it up, and after you move it about this far, probably 75% of your bites are gonna come on the first 2 or 3 feet of your retrieve, and then 25% further out there. So that's one of the most important things to remember. But the main thing, guys, is you have to give it time to get to the bottom. And this can be difficult sometimes, especially if the wind's blowing or, it's a little bit deeper out there, but you've got to be patient and you've got to slow down because it's really easy to get ahead of yourself on this thing since it's a slow fall. Now, the technique for clear water is a little bit different. I've talked about this in some of my other videos recently. One of the techniques that I like to, or not one of them, it's the way that I like to fish it this time of year, is I'll throw it out there. Let's say, for example, the water's 65 degrees and we got clear water. Water visibility is 4 or 5 foot. I'll throw it out there to the bank, and then as soon as it hits the bottom, I'll start shaking it like that and reeling at the same time. Shaking it fast and reeling it. So the bait hits the water right next to the bank, and then as soon as it hits the water, I'm keeping it like that far into the water, and I'm pulling it to the surface like that. And I'll pull it for 3 or 4 or 5 foot, and then I'll kill it and let it go down to the bottom. Now, what this does in clear water, since in April, there's a lot of fish cruising, and there's a lot of fish up shallow. When you throw this thing and you start jerking it along the surface, it gets the attention of probably any bass that's within 20 feet of there. They'll come to investigate it. Sometimes they'll grab it off the surface, but more than not is you get their attention as it going like that, and as it falls, that's when they get it. Half the time, you know, I'll work it like that, and then I'll kill it, and I'm watching my line as it falls. Half the time that you'll just see your line tick like that, and they've sucked it in on the way down. And the other time is as soon as it hits the bottom, and I mean as soon as it touches the bottom, you'll just see your line swimming out. And they've got it, you know, following it down until they bite it there. Okay, now another thing with it is when you set the hook, obviously you're using a spinning rod here, but when you set the hook with a Wacky, you don't want to set the hook on it. You just want to reel. We talk about this a lot, and I've experimented with this a lot. You know, set it out there. Okay, you're reeling it, reeling it, reeling it, reeling it. You know, you got to bite now. So you know there's one swimming with it. As soon as there's one swimming with it, guys, do not get in a big hurry. You don't have to get in a big rush. You're not going to spit it out. Let it swim for 3 or 4 feet with it, and then just start reeling fast like that. Pull your, don't do this like that. Just start reeling and pull like back and keep cranking. And get the head of that fish trying to get to you as fast as it can. And then if that fish reverses direction, that's when you want to slow down and back reel and, you know, let that fish have some line until, you know, keep it tight, but let them have some line. Don't try to force their head in a different direction. Always put pressure on the fish when it's coming to you, not going away from you. You'll lose a lot of fish if you do that. But colors are pretty basic, guys. I don't, when it comes to colors, I've got a pretty basic selection that I use. Watermelon, you know, any type of like a watermelon color, this is gonna be a really good color in super clear water. Green pumpkin is gonna be a favorite, you know, clear water, but a little bit more off-colored sometimes too. And then you've got a variety of different colors of soft plastic stick baits, and they can all work good. You just sort of have to go through it and experiment it. I don't use any dark colors though. It's not, everything that I use with the Wacky, it's either, you know, some type of watermelon, green pumpkin tone in that range there. I want some type of a subtle color. Sometimes I do use like a shad pattern if the water clarity is super clear. But guys, it's deadly, man. It's like if you haven't caught many fish on a Wacky, it's a great way to catch a lot of fish. It does require some discipline and patience because it is not a fast way to fish. It's a really good bait when you know you're around some fish. It's not a good bait to cover water and locate fish. Usually what I do is I'll try to locate fish like with a shaky head. Shaky head will fall faster, get to the bottom faster. And once I get into an area where I'm getting some bites on like a Ned rig or a shaky head, a lot of times I'll mop it up and I'll throw the Wacky in there since I know there's some fish in there. And a lot of times that subtle fall of the Wacky will catch more bass. So anyway, guys, hope it helps you all out. We'll talk later.